Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I would like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the leadership team tools and reports with a heavy focus today on secretary treasurers. What we're going to be talking about today is some of the basic input things that you will need to be aware of in your position as secretary treasurer, like how to input the speaker rotation and what that does. We're going to talk a little bit about inputting the mentoring for the mentors and mentees. We're also going to show you how you can communicate with your chapters as well through BNI Connect. After that, we're going to go through a whole bunch of reports. I know that a lot of being on leadership team is making sure that you can go in and look at the information that's in the system. So we're going to be reviewing a bit of that today as well. We also have with us on the line Jerry Schwartz from the BNI Foreshore regions, who has some things for us as well. But before we get into that, a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, this is a live webinar. So that means that if you have any questions whatsoever as we're going through the material today, please do feel free to ask questions. The easiest way to do that is to please just type your question in. We'll see that pop up on our screen and we can answer that question as we're going through the material. Or if it's something that's totally, completely unrelated, we will have plenty of time at the end to answer those questions. In addition to that, this webinar is being recorded. It will be made available as quickly as possible on our support site. Once you get into BNI Connect, you'll be able to access the support site up here by clicking on the question mark in the upper right-hand corner. Of course, if you're unable to log into BNI Connect yet, I know that we'll just be having the Maryland and Virginia and Canada and Australia and New Zealand regions joining us, hopefully this weekend and towards the also into the end of the month. Before that time, you can jump onto support.bniconnect.com. So again, you can go directly to support.bniconnect.com. You'll see our list of all of our monthly webinars coming up. And then if you scroll down just a little tiny bit, you'll see recorded webinars under the chapter training section. You'll see an entry for May 2015. And Jerry, you can see I've already uploaded the special one that we did the other day for vice presidents, and also our Complete Your Profile one that we did a couple of days ago as well. So today's will be up here next in line as soon as we can get it uploaded from the recording. You can also find all of our webinars on youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We have tips and tricks and educational moments and just a ton of videos up there to keep you occupied and learning more about BNI Connect. All right, so before we get started, I know specifically for the Maryland regions, we have a couple of announcements for the Secretary Treasurers. Jerry.
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. And this actually is also in the BNI Nova area with Sam Schwartz and the BNI Foreshore area with me. A couple things that we're going to be changing. One, I think a lot of Secretary Treasurers are going to give me a big woohoo for this. No longer will you be taking credit card payments. Credit card payments on the new site will be all online. There's going to be an easy button for them to push where they can log in and actually make all the payments. Now, I'm going to suggest that you should have somebody in your chapter that has a laptop with Wi-Fi to be able to have it available at your chapter meeting. So if a member comes in and fills out an application, they can actually go right online at the chapter and put in the information for their credit card. A couple things on that also. The leasing program that we had in the past, we're going to discontinue, and there will be another button on there that will give members 6 months, same as cash, through PayPal. It's a credit process that they have to go through, but it'll go through PayPal, and instead of having the leasing program with interest, they can actually do it 6 months, same as cash. So that's going to be a really big difference in there. So that's a couple of main things. As we get closer to getting live, you'll get all this information. You'll see how simple it's all going to be. And Jeremy, back to you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so let's take a look at BNI Connect. For those of you that have not logged into the system, you're not set in on one of the webinars, this is the BNI Connect screen. So once you log in, this is what you'll see. A couple of things that you may be interested in as members as well as secretary treasurers. By the way, case I haven't introduced myself properly, I am also a member, by the way, up here in the Rhode Island region. I've been a member for 13 years, since 2002. I'm also a director consultant, so I help to support chapters up here in the Rhode Island area, only a couple of miles north from where you guys are. So some of the things that excite me as a member about BNI Connect is really right here on the home screen. So what you can see here is this is your actual return on investment. All of the POMS summary information is right on the home page when you log in. So you can see your last 12 months as well as your lifetime of information. On the home screen here is also where you can submit your weekly slips. To me, this is one of the most exciting features of BNI Connect, is the ability to, when you have a referral for somebody, you don't have to wait till your weekly meeting. You can just jump right in, submit a referral slip, and the referral can happen really right away. So when you get a chance and you log in, you can take a look at this stuff. From a more detailed perspective, in order to get into some of these, really the secretary, treasurer, and leadership team type functions, you do have to get beyond the home screen. In order to get beyond the home screen, just like with most programs, you'll have to go into some of the menus. Now, in BNI Connect, everything is organized up here along the drop-down menus: network, operations, reports, tools, and admin. Now, depending on your level of access, you will see all of these things, or maybe you'll only see a couple of them. By default, you'll at least see network, operations, and reports. Network is always going to be all of the social media functions. So BNI Connect, one of the great things about it is that once you're on this system, you'll be part of a global network. So you'll be able to connect with and search for the services of 178,000 members worldwide. So if your aunt needs a plumber in Milwaukee, or you're traveling to Florida and you're looking for a massage therapist, you can connect with other BNI members in order to utilize those services, and vice versa. They're going to be looking for people when they come to visit the greater DC area. The next couple of menus are the operations and reports menus. The way that I always remember this is that whenever you're doing something, if you need to input something, you need to create something, inputs is always going to be in operations. Reports are output only. So operations is really the day-to-day and week-by-week operations of your chapter. So again, the vice presidents, they're looking to input a POMS report, or you as the secretary treasurer, you're looking to input the speaker rotation. You're always going to go to operations. If you're just looking for statistics, you're going to go to reports. So let's take a look at what's under some of these menus. So the first place I'm going to go is to this operations menu. So if I go to operations, and I'm going to go to the chapter level operations here, this is the information that we're going to see. On the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of different options. So managing visitors, managing the meeting, managing memberships, goals, the mentoring program, create email, and manage news. On the right-hand side, after you click on each one of these, you'll see the menu items change, and you'll be able to select more specific tasks. For example, one of your top things that you'll be doing is putting in the speaker rotation. Now, putting in the speaker rotation, that is a meeting activity, so we're going to go to Meeting Management, and we can click on View, Edit Speakers. Obviously, the two things above it, the View the POMS Summary, that will allow you to view a single POMS report, and Enter POMS is what the vice presidents will be doing on a weekly meeting after all of the slips are passed in. But today we're going to click on View, Edit Speakers. And once we get here, we can type in the Enter From date. So this will allow us to view all of the speakers that are already allocated. So I can go back as far in history. If I want to look at the history of it, I can. And this will give me all of the registered speakers. So here I can see, going back to February, in my BNI Burr chapter, we are in my test region of Antarctica here. But we have, let's see, Harvey Keitel spoke on the 25th. Art Garfunkel spoke the week later. Then we had Roger Dodger, Alfred E. Newman. So it looks like we were scheduled out pretty well, but now I need to schedule for May and into June. We never really want to go more than 4 to 6 weeks out, mostly because things change. So you have a new member that comes in that needs to be scheduled. You have a member that decides to leave the chapter. And in order to schedule those out, again, you don't want to go too far in advance. So let me just go back here. I'm going to take a search and just look through April. And it looks like we have people scheduled out through 5/6. So let's schedule somebody for this upcoming week's meeting and maybe do a couple of weeks after that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Assign Speaker. Now I can only choose future dates when I'm assigning speakers. It's not really a historical tool. It's meant for assigning people into the future. So I can choose the week of the 13th. I'm going to choose who the speaker is going to be. So in this case, let's see, Adam Sandler. He spoke already a little while ago. So let's see. I think Ricky Martin is going to be doing a speech this week. And Ricky Martin's going to be doing some new songs for us from his new album. Once I click Submit, we will see that Ricky Martin is now assigned as the speaker for 5/13. Now we have a question here from Howard. Howard asks, can we enter 2 speakers per meeting? So if your chapter is a 2-speaker chapter, then absolutely you can enter 2 speakers per week. For example, my personal chapter in Rhode Island, we are a 50-member chapter, so we do have 2 speakers every single week. That is a setting that the regional office does need to set for you if it's not set up already. But if you can, then all you do is go to Assign Speaker. And for that same week, I could choose 5/13 again. And I can choose a second speaker. Now, while I'm in here, by the way, it's not going to be obvious right now, but when you look at the list, you may notice some names that you don't recognize. And that's just because what's going to happen is all of not just your chapter members, but your director consultants in your region and your senior director consultants and your executive director and even the national director for the United States are going to appear in this list. So I know it may not make sense here in the United States that our national director is showing up as a possible speaker, but in a lot of other countries around the world, especially smaller countries, their national directors do quite a few chapter visits. So that's why those names appear in the list. So I'm going to have Marky Mark do the follow-up. And I guess my Burr chapter does not have 2 speakers assigned, so it did give me a warning message there. But the possibility does exist, Howard, to have 2 speakers. So if you get that error message, just talk to Jerry or talk to your regional office and they can set you as a 2-speaker chapter. So does that answer your question, Howard? All right, and then it's just really a matter at this point of adding more speakers. So again, I couldn't add Marky Mark there for the second speaker, so let me bump him out to the next week and put Marky Mark out for the following week. And now we should have Ricky Martin for the 13th and Marky Mark for the 20th. Now, the other reason why I say don't go too far out in advance is, one thing that I would love to see is the ability to just drag and drop these to change the order around. However, if we do need to change the order, the only way to do that is to delete somebody. So let's say Ricky Martin just called me and said, you know what, I can't make the meeting next week. Can you please find another speaker for me? What we can do is we can delete Ricky from the list, and we can add a new person in Ricky's place. So I can assign a new speaker. And let's see, for the 13th here, and I'm going to choose somebody new to come in. So let's see, Louise is going to come in and be the speaker for this week. And now we have a new speaker. Now, a couple of things about adding speakers into the rotation. First of all, one of the great things about it is that the speakers and you as the secretary treasurer will get reminders for that upcoming meeting. So 3 days and 6 days before the meeting, Marky Mark is going to get a reminder, and Louise and Thea here is going to get a reminder saying, you are the scheduled speaker for this week. So again, the day after your meeting and before the next meeting, the upcoming speaker will get a reminder, and 3 days before. In addition, you as the secretary treasurer will get a reminder saying this person is due to speak this week. That happens 3 days before for you guys as the secretaries. In addition to that, every chapter in BNI has a chapter website. So if I go up to, for example, my own region, bnirhodeisland.com, and I go to my Wakefield chapter, this is our chapter website, and this is just a default basic chapter website. You can see it has all of the information already input into it, and it has our thank you for closed business automatically pulling from BNI Connect. Actually, the only thing that we've added so far is to add our Facebook page on here. But down at the bottom, you'll see that all of our chapter speakers are showing up. And again, we have 2 speakers, so both speakers for each week for the next 4 weeks are showing up on our chapter website. So that's just another little bit of really visibility and publicity for the members that are speaking. And Google definitely likes that, and Google is indexing all of these chapter websites as well. And that right there is the speaker rotation. Do we have any questions or any additional questions on the speaker rotation? So one thing to add is that each chapter can have their own chapter webmaster. Now, a lot of times this may be the web designer in your chapter, but it doesn't have to be. We do have special training for chapter webmasters. So once you decide who that is going to be, we can definitely get some training in for you, both recorded training and live training. So the chapter webmaster will have the ability, by the way, to edit the chapter websites. So you saw my chapter website there was pretty basic, but you can actually go pretty deep with these chapter websites. Let me just show you a quick example of that while we're on the subject. There's a chapter out there called BNI Rugby. So the BNI Rugby chapter, they're out in the UK, in Warwickshire. And if I go to their chapter website, they've done some pretty cool things. So you can see that we have all floating Facebook and Twitter icons here that we can go and like their page. And if I scroll down, it's a really, really long page. You have some nice graphics, a nice story, some more graphics, a nice video, an invitation to register to visit, some testimonials. I mean, you can really do a lot with these chapter websites. So it will be good to get a webmaster on board once you guys go live in a couple of weeks. Yep, and once you do pick out your chapter webmaster, we do have the training that is coming up on that. By the way, that is going to be a week from today, Monday, May 18th. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, a week from today, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you know who that is going to be, please register for that webinar. All right, it doesn't look like there's any other questions on the goals, on the speaker rotation. So why don't we take a look at a couple of the other things that are here under the operations menu, and then we'll move on to the reports. So probably the next most useful thing that I've found being on the leadership team especially is that a lot of times you need to, well, just get in touch with your chapter, whether that's sending out an email reminder that the room fees are due or that some event is taking place. You need a way that you can easily get an email out. Now, the way to do that is if you go to Create Email under the Operations menu, the very top option here says Email My Chapter. Email My Chapter. And if you click on Email My Chapter, this will give you the most updated email address list for your chapter. So I can remember before BNI Connect, always used to have to go in and kind of find the last email chain and hit reply all, kind of hope that it would go to all the right people, but of course it never did. So this is an easy way to just go in and highlight all, choose copy, and you can use your own email program. I do recommend putting everything into the BCC line and just typing out your email, and you can then send out your email to the chapter. So let's see, John asks, why the BCC line? One of the reasons is because it does help to minimize the reply alls. So people just saying, oh yeah, I got it, or oh, sorry, I'll do that next week. There's no need for those emails to go out to 20, 30, 40, 50 people. It tends to get annoying to a lot of people. So putting it in the BCC line will cut out all of those reply alls. And in addition, if somebody does decide to forward this email along, then it won't have everybody's private email addresses listed in the email. So hopefully that answers your question. So there's also a couple of other things within this part of the system. There's the email, the visitor invitation. That's a great tool that sends out an email invite to potential visitors. And then there's also a goals program. So as a leadership team, you guys can enter your goals into BNI Connect. And as you're going through month by month by month, it will basically follow along and tell you whether you're reaching your goals or not. So based on the POMS report and the number of visitors you have and the number of new members, it will walk you through the months in order to keep you on track. So we're going to be talking about that one a little bit more in our presidents and leadership team webinar that's coming up, I believe, next week. So please do join us for that one as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the reports in the system. So I'm going to go to the reports menu, and let's take a look at some of the reports that I think are going to be helpful for you in your leadership team positions. Now, I'm not going to go through every single report on the list. I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. One of the things about reports is once you do get on to BNI Connect, feel free to just go through all of the reports because you really can't break anything, especially when it comes to looking at the reports. So a couple of things that are going to be helpful for you. The very first report here is going to be helpful because in order to schedule people for the speaker rotation, they do need to have taken a member success program. So make sure that you are checking the member training report. There's a couple of different ways that you can check the member training report. Of course, you can just go in and see who has taken various trainings. So I can choose a date range, and then I can choose a specific type of training, like the awesome training event or the polar bear plunge or any of the ones that are showing up in the list. But more specifically, if I want to see who hasn't taken a training, so I know whether or not to schedule them into the speaker rotation, I can choose this option down here that says show never attended. So I can go in and let's say choose this, and then I'm going to choose the member success program. So I want to see who has never attended the member success program for my BRR chapter up in Antarctica. And it looks like I have a bunch of slackers up in my BRR chapter. So all of these people, it's telling me, have not attended the member success program. I can see some of them have been around for quite a while. Now, this is an important distinction as well, especially for you that are going to be migrating into BNI Connect, is that some of these records may or may not be 100% accurate when you come over into BNI Connect. And it's just because of the way that our two systems stored information. So if you're checking this report and you say, you know what, I know that Roger Dodger definitely attended the member success program. All you need to do is get in touch with your regional office. These records can be updated manually, and there may be quite a few cases in which they need to be updated after the fact. So just be patient, and we will absolutely help you through that and get everything into tip-top shape. So, Jerry, that's a good point, saying that specifically in Jerry's area, not all of these records were necessarily kept online, so there may be some things that we definitely need to adjust. But as events are done online, and there may be registrations and the payments and all of those other things, hopefully over time that will start to clear itself up there as well. So. All right, so that's the member training report. There's also, just going down the list here, we will hit quite a few of these in the beginning because they're the most popular reports, but we have the chapter roster report, a very, very basic report. But what's important about this report is that it shows you who is listed in various positions. So we can see up in my Burr chapter in Antarctica, we seem to be missing quite a few positions. So I can see I don't have a president assigned right now or a secretary treasurer. So that means that, in my region, what that means is those people had not properly registered for training or haven't certified that they've been through training. So we need to contact our director consultant, our regional office, in order to get the people assigned to the right positions. And also, as we were saying before, you do want to make sure that you designate a chapter webmaster for your chapter. With a lot of these positions, such as events coordinator and mentor coordinator, things like that, those positions come with certain permissions in BNI Connect. For example, only the mentor coordinator may be able to assign a mentor and a mentee pair in BNI Connect. Visitor hosts have certain permissions when it comes to managing visitors. So if a member is coming to you and saying, hey, you know what, I tried to enter all the visitors yesterday, but I don't have that option. The first place to check is this roster report to say, well, it doesn't look, John, it doesn't look like you are listed as the visitor host. That's probably why you aren't able to enter visitors. So definitely take a look here. And also, if you need to get in touch with your director consultant, for example, you will see your director consultant listed here with their contact information. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to switch over here to the United States so that we have some more relevant reports. Antarctica is good for doing some tests, but it doesn't have a whole lot of usable data in it. So let's take a look at my own personal chapter here. So again, here's what a more complete list might look like. Again, with the positions filled out, including multiple people on the membership committee, and again, the contact information for my director consultant. And then a list of the chapter roster. Contact information, as well as a brief view of the POMS report for the last 90 days. From a secretary-treasurer standpoint, your bread and butter report is this third one on the list, and that is the membership dues report. Just click Go on it, and this will basically tell you who is up for renewal and when. So of course, your top 3 positions here, they are compensated positions. So it will tell you what your term plus is. What term plus means is that when you come out of office, you will have that much time left on your membership. So for example, actually all 3 of them, that's a coincidence. All 3 of our positions in my chapter, when they come out, they will be due in 7 months. So if they make it to the end of their term, which in our case is October 1st, they will have 7 months added to that, which will make it May 1st of 2016. Now for the rest of them, you will see the next 2 months highlighted in bold. So the people that are due in June and July should be into the renewal process already. And then of course we want to look a couple of months out, especially if we're doing things like a 6-month review of upcoming members. So really we're in May right now. 6 months, we want to be looking at people that are due in October, November, December, and making sure that we're doing reviews on those members. That will give them enough time to change any bad habits. Now, scrolling down the report even further, you'll see any new members, any late members, and any dropped members. Now, my chapter doesn't have any in those categories right now, but if they did, they would all be listed here in these various sections. All right, skipping down a couple, we have the summary POMS report. This is really the statistical information for your chapter. Just a couple of things about the summary POMS report. Hopefully everybody's familiar with what the POMS is. Present, absent, late, medical, and substitute, as well as all the referrals given, referrals received, CEUs, one-to-ones. Thank you for closed business. The things about this report that are interesting, though, is that you can run this report for any length of time that you want to. So my chapter has been around since about 2001. If I wanted to go back and look at the history of my chapter, even before we started, I can go back as far as I want to in time here. And I can even go through today. Now, there's two options when you're running this report, and this is really important, especially if you're running it for a very long period of time. Right now, I'm going to run this report without this checked off, so it's going to show only the current members. So I'm choosing not to show dropped member names. Now, this is taking a couple of seconds because it is going back to the beginning of time for my chapter. And what it's showing here is I can run this report going back to 1996, again, before we were even a chapter, and it will give me all the statistical information for the chapter. Now, what's notable about this is that it will include all of these numbers, but the total line will include the contributions even from the dropped members. So it's showing you a grand total over that period of time, but it's really hiding the names of the people that are not active members currently. So for example, if I rerun this showing dropped members, it'll show a really long list of names, basically of every single person that has ever been a member of the chapter. But you'll notice that the total line didn't change because it did include those calculations even when those members weren't listed. Other things to keep in mind from a secretary-treasurer standpoint, there's some other great reports like the absence report and the classifications not in chapter report. But a couple of that I also want to point out. You may want to keep your eye on the sponsor report as new members are being brought in. People are always looking to find out how many members they've sponsored into the chapter. And this is a way that you can check the sponsor report to see who has sponsored members into the chapter over various periods of time. And again, this is by default looking back 5 years, so it does take a couple of seconds to load this report. Of course, I had to pick one of the longest reports in the system. Is what it's actually doing right now, just so you know, is it's going through and it's querying each of the individual members in the chapter and finding out who their sponsor is on that record. So with a chapter of about 50 people, that is a long report to go and try to find out. But it will show you all of the sponsors and all of the people that they have sponsored. So it's a great way to look at who the people that are sponsoring the most members are. It's also great for recognition. As a secretary-treasurer, another thing that you're going to be doing is when you go to introduce your members before their 10-minute or feature presentation. And you can also look up that information. So traditionally, we've always handed out a piece of paper saying, okay, fill out this bio so I can introduce you. If members are going in and filling out their profiles, you don't need to chase them down for that piece of paper anymore. You can just go to their member details report, click on View Member Bio, choose the right person from the list. For example, if I was doing my 10-minute presentation, and you can look up their bio. And you'll notice this is the exact same list of questions that are on the traditional bio form. You can also switch over and view their gains profile, their tops profile, and their weekly presentations. And again, as long as you can encourage your members to fill out their profiles, you'll always have this information on hand. Now again, you definitely want to go through and monitor the rest of these reports and take a look at them at your leisure. You really can't break anything when it comes to the reports, so feel free to click through them, and if you have any questions, by all means, get in touch with your director consultant, your regional office, or of course, us here in support. And if you're not sure of what a report does, again, just click on it. Most of them are fairly straightforward, but you'll also notice that there's little question marks in front of all of the functions here. So if you're not sure, for example, of what the length of membership report is, click on the little question mark. That will take you over to the support site, and it will bring you to the help document about that function. So this will go through, it'll explain what the report is, what all the different things are within the report, and show you what it all means. All right, so Jerry, do you have anything that you'd like to add? And I'd also at this point like to open this up to any questions. Feel free to type your questions into the questions panel, and we will be happy to answer those questions.
The only thing I'd like to add is to make sure everybody's aware that we will be going on to this new site probably the 3rd to 4th week of this month. Once we get the approval on my end from the admin side, and the same thing in Northern Virginia with Sam, we're going to be sending an email to all the members. Every member will get the email. What I would love is that make sure that all the secretary treasurers and all the presidents contact your members, email them, and ask them if they've gotten the email from me. If they haven't gotten the email from me, one of two things. It's in their spam folder, or we have their incorrect email address in our system. They can't update their profile. We're going to ask every single member to make sure they update it as quickly as possible. You'll see that when we make it live, we're going to try to make sure that it's 99% perfect. There will be some glitches. It happens. That's the nature of the beast, and don't worry about it. We're going to fix everything. But the website will have the button on there in order to be able to click onto the online payments. We're going to make sure the PayPal part is on there. We're going to make sure very specific instructions, and I will make sure that every member has access to all the amazing webinars that Jeremy has done. So this is going to be a phenomenal program, and I'm really looking forward to working with everybody on this.
Excellent. Thank you, Jerry. We are very excited to welcome you into the BNI Connect family as well. So are there any questions? Let's see. We have a couple of questions starting to come in. We have from Lori. Lori says, where do we go to send out renewal invoices for renewing members? So Lori, great question. Excellent. So there's two reminders that automatically go out in the system. So the first reminder will come to you guys on the leadership team. So the leadership team and the membership committee get an email 90 days before with a list of all the members in your chapter that are due in 90 days. Now, keep in mind, it is a 90-day reminder, so it's not always going to come in on the first of the month. As a matter of fact, it very rarely comes in on the first of the month. But when it hits that 90 days before, again, you'll get that reminder of everybody that's due for renewal. The second email that goes out automatically goes out to all of the members that are due in 60 days. So the system automatically takes care of sending that email out, reminding members to do their renewal within that next 60 days. So does that answer your question, Lori? All right. And let's see, Howard says, and by the way, the dates on that, they are customizable by region. So your regional office may decide that it's better to go out at 75 or 80 or 90 days or whatever it is. I think Jerry says that in his region, the members may get that reminder automatically at 90 days along with the membership committee. So again, that's going to be up to your regional office to make that decision on the exact timing of it. Let's see. Howard says, is there a way to input the person taking care of networking education each week, similar to the speakers? Unfortunately, there's not an educational coordinator rotation. Usually that's just done manually by the educational coordinator. So unfortunately, no, I'm sorry, there's not one to enter that in for that slot. One thing I would say, though, is that I know that in a lot of regions, my region included, what we do as director consultants is we go in and we'll schedule ourselves as the speaker in your speaker rotation so that you know when your director is coming for a visit. I don't know if your region will be doing that as well, but I know that that's a practice that our region does. Lynette asks, are we taking applications electronically now? And at this time, the applications are not available electronically. So we're still trying to work through some really sticky legal things with that as far as making the application publicly accessible and things like that. So it is something we are working on, but it's not something that is ready quite yet. Keep in mind that now that we are on a global system, there are a lot of international laws that we have to take into consideration when we do things like that. And it always kind of has to be the most conservative of those laws that we usually have to adhere to. So, but we do hope to have that available, hopefully in the relatively near future. Jerry, I don't know about online renewals in your region.
We're going to probably do the online renewals. We're not quite sure how soon we're going to put them into place.
So, yep, more information on online renewals later. All right, hopefully that answers your question, Lynette. All right, that's the last question I had listed. Any additional questions? Any questions at all about anything BNI Connect related? All right, if there's no additional questions, just a quick note that a good referral for me is to please let your fellow members know about these webinars, especially the early adopters in your region that would like more information about BNI Connect so that you're ready to go when you go live. Our very next webinar is going to be on the giving and tracking referrals online. I showed you guys about 30 seconds of it today, but I do a half-hour webinar just on the referral giving and tracking portion of BNI Connect. That's going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then we follow that up with the chapter webmaster. So the chapter web pages is going to be next Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So again, a good referral for me is to please come and join me on one of those webinars and or let your chapters know about them. You can sign up for them at support.bniconnect.com. Any closing comments or last words, Jerry?
No, this is going to be an awesome experience, I think, for everybody. So we're really looking forward to it. And we will have some direct help. If anybody has any questions on any phase of Connect as we're moving forward over the next several weeks, we will make sure that you can contact me or I will have somebody assigned for you to connect to it directly as we go along. It's a learning curve for all of us. So just remember, we're all learning together, and hopefully we're going to make this thing more phenomenal than ever.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys all very, very soon, and happy connecting.